County Board of Commissioners, Wednesday, July 31st, 2013. Please turn off your cell phones and or silence them. I guess I should do that too, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Take your own
You wouldn't want
advice
yours
there.
to go off in the middle of the
Oh,
meeting.
no.
Mine did last week, so it's all
I
right.
remember that.
So if at this time, if we could have the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance by Dan Lathrop.
Our dear God, we love you and we think of you as the author of love, and we thank you for the love, friendship, and trust that exists amongst us. Please help us use this wonderful commodity for the betterment of our county and our citizens and for the glory of God. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas? Yep. Rennie?
Here.
Maxbauer? Here. Lathrop?
Here.
Inman?
Here.
Lemko?
Here. Next is the approval of minutes of June 26th.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 26, 2013 as presented.
Support.
Inman, support by Wheelock. Any corrections or deletions or additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next is the first public comment. If we could have public comment rules read, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address the meeting of the Board of Commissioners, which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. 1. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. 2. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer Commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Okay, this is our first public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak? Thank you, Jason. Come on up.
Jason Gilman, 933 Avenue D, Traverse City, East Bay Township. I'm here to speak on the road millage situation. Also, before I mention that, I'd also like to remind folks, at least the people who are watching, next Tuesday is another election. It's, in my view, an unnecessary one. They're spending $70,000 of taxpayer money to avoid the November election so that it's a little more obscure and harder for people to remember to go to the polls, but that's just my opinion, I suppose. With regard to the Road Commission, I think we've probably got one of the finest makeups in the Road Commission that we've had in a long time. I have a great deal of respect for every one of the members on the Road Commission, and I am absolutely positive that from their perspective they've done everything that they can do to try to not have to ask for money through an assessment. Having said that, I do have a prepared statement. Most of you on this board have heard my thoughts on keeping funding associated with government as close to the appropriate source as possible. I reiterate that road funding from property taxes is not appropriate, and it adds to the burden of those on fixed incomes who neither drive or can afford the added expense. Your consent is needed to put this measure on the ballot. Perhaps first it should be considered important that prior measures have been taken to reduce the need for such funding, particularly with regard to communications with our elected representatives. Have you determined, for example, if our current state rep, Wayne Schmidt, has worked towards more funding for our local roads in the last transportation package? Or more for costly Southern Michigan train projects that require matching funding and have long-term expenses associated with them? Has this board or the Road Commission contacted the representative's office to encourage him to drop the red light camera plan, which potentially incurs more cost to our roads? In some communities, they have lost money as a result of putting these in. Has this board or the Road Commission contacted the representative's office to ask about road monies currently used for the new international bridge crossing and its connectors? Believe it or not, the plan that was not supposed to cost Michigan taxpayers a dime has cost about $40 million so far in MDOT studies alone since just before Mr. Schmidt's term began. Has this board or the Road Commission encouraged Mr. Schmidt to present legislation to eliminate prevailing wage structure requirements that would not only save the Transportation Department and allow for funding of local road commissions over $113 million a year by some estimates, and in other government entities it would save them even more. Would have complete streets. Our current representative has been a consistent supporter of mandating certain features in roadways and streets, forcing these road commissions to have to implement particular features. It adds cost to road infrastructure for non-paying activities, non-revenue generating activities for the roads. Where was this board, for example, in 2010 when this happened? I know 4 of you were here at that time. What of the increased fuel costs that reduced road funding through the established mechanisms and resulted in higher sales tax revenues that don't benefit the local road commission? That's a big problem. The higher the gas costs go, the more the sales tax goes up, but the less the local road commissions get. And there isn't a mechanism to correct that. Instead, the money's going elsewhere. What efforts have been made by this board through resolution or by contact through our state representatives to correct such changes over the last decade? Now, the reason I ask this, before you put the question to voters who will be inundated with promotion for higher taxes, has this board done all that it can to address the true causality of the current shortfalls? Is this the only solution or just the most expedient? I would encourage a no vote on this issue and redirect efforts to our legislature to correct the road funding mechanisms which are currently in a state of disrepair. And I do end it the way I began. I believe that this road commission is probably as qualified and doing as good a job as it can with the resources that it has. But there's only so many times we can put our hands out. This year is going to be, in particular, a trying time, and there'll be a lot of fingers crossed from a lot of places as far as having millages passed. All I can say is this: as one of those whose income has not increased over the last 5 years, there's a lot more like me who are feeling the pinch every time the hand goes out from government. And anyhow, that's all I have to say on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, we will go on to approval of the agenda.
I would like,
I believe we
Dean,
have
you
an
got an
addition.
addition?
I would like to add the quitclaim deed that you all have on your desk under new business.
Okay. Dr. Lathrop, you
and
have?
I'd like to add the resolution from the ad hoc committee.
Okay. Any other, and those will both go under new business? Any other additions to the agenda? Motion to approve the agenda then?
Makes sense, motion.
Motion by Rennie, support by Thomas. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have special order of business. Jason.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jason Jones, your county's Parks and Recreation Director. I'm excited to be on the agenda this evening with some positive news for our Parks and Recreation, from our Parks and Recreation Department. And I'm just going to basically turn it over to BJ Puchala from Blue Cross Blue Shield to talk a little bit about what we're here for this evening.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me this evening. I'd also like to introduce Frank Smith and Tim Town from our local Blue Cross office. Our purpose here tonight is to acknowledge the success of Team Grand Travers in the My Big Green Gym Blues Community Challenge, and also to share this large-size check, which represents the support from Blue Cross to Grand Traverse County for participating in the challenge. And of course, to assure you that the real check will be sent very shortly.
Checks in the mail.
I should explain what the My Big Green Gym partnership is all about. It's a partnership between Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, the Michigan DNR, and the Michigan Recreation and Park Association. And it is a collaboration designed to encourage people throughout Michigan to enjoy the terrific parks and recreation opportunities that we have, often in our own backyard, sometimes when we travel somewhere, and to use those places not only as an opportunity to have a great time, but also to get some exercise and remember that being active is part of a healthy lifestyle. There were 3 teams in this challenge, which is part of the Big Green Gym partnership, and members of each team used a website to record their exercise, and they competed for health and wellness grants from Blue Cross. I'm happy to say that Team Grand Traverse, after a very, very intense competition with Team Marquette, effectively tied for first place in this challenge. And so we at Blue Cross have the privilege of awarding both communities a $9,000 grant for health and wellness investments. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the achievements of Team Grand Traverse. In 8 weeks, the members of the team accumulated 38,458 miles of exercise. And to put that in perspective, that equates to 1,468 marathons, approximately, give or take, 3.845 million calories metabolized. And to help understand a little more concretely what that means, that's equivalent to roughly 12,800 fast food cheeseburgers. So that's quite an accomplishment, especially in 8 weeks of focused competition. But most importantly, we want to recognize the community engagement and the emphasis on being more physically active and healthy by taking advantage of all the great recreation opportunities, especially those here in Grand Traverse County. I'd like to identify 3 people that I had a great time working with. In the Parks and Rec Department, Aerith Welch, Chris Erickson, and Jason Jones for their leadership and commitment and enthusiasm for making Team Grand Traverse participation in the challenge a success. And with your permission, I'd like to present this check to the chair.
All right. Picture.
I'll take a picture.
Yeah, right.
Use your laptop, Sonny.
Which button? Yeah, which button do we have to push here?
I believe you. I've never done it, but.
Would be all right to go down with the chair of the Parks and Recreation?
Love that, absolutely.
He's awesome.
And you know, one of my fellow swimmers, Lil, she was a participant in WOG for swimming
He's getting pictures of it.
every day.
Would you like to be on this end? I can stand in the middle.
There you go.
Okay.
Cool.
A thorn between 2 roses.
You sure that's right?
I'm close.
One, two.
It's a good photo.
Great.
Make sure
Thanks
you
for coming.
have a copy for your grandsons. Yeah, I will.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you all. It was a pleasure to partner with the county, and we're just very, very
Are you going to do it again?
That's a great question. We use the Blues Community Challenge model throughout the state in a lot of different communities. So it's one of the big ways that we really try to encourage people to be more active. So, the more communities we can get involved, the better.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
No, I know, yeah. Next, we have the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. All information identified on the consent calendar can be viewed in its entirety at www.grandtraverse.org. Receive and file. Number 1, resolutions requesting full funding of revenue sharing from Marquette and Roscommon counties. Number 2, Department of Veterans Services minutes of April 18th. Number 3, Northern Michigan Substance Abuse Services minutes of May 6th. Number 4, Department of Veterans Services minutes of May 16th. Number 5, Northern Michigan Community Action Agency minutes of May 16th. Number 6, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of May 28th. Number 7, Grand Traverse County Department of Human Services Board minutes of May 31st. Number 8, Board of Public Works minutes of June 13th. Number 9, Traverse Area District Library minutes of June 13th. Number 10, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health minutes of June 20th. Number 11, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of June 25th. Number 12, Grand Traverse County Department of Human Services Board minutes of June 28th. Number 13, Commission on Aging minutes of July 2nd. Approvals. There was no Public Health and Safety Committee meeting in July. The Resource Management Administration Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 14, Project Fresh Grant from the Bay Area Senior Advocates. Number 15, Area Agency on Aging's Annual Implementation Plan. Number 16, Resolution to assert the Board of Commissioners' right to approve or reject the master plan. The Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 17, Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office surplus boat engine. Number 18, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority acceptance of DEQ loan. Number 19, rescission of Resolution 32393, fees for true copies. Number 20, budget adjustments.
Hearing that, is there anybody from the public who would like any of these items removed from the consent agenda? Any commissioners would like to remove any of these items? Motion to approve the consent calendar. By Thomas, support by Rennie. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Oh, excuse me, I got a roll call. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Got to retrain me.
Yep.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yep.
Rennie?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lemko?
Yes. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is department action items. First one is Road Commission millage language. Who wants to, Bob, you going to do that, or we're going to have Jim do it?
It's probably better to have Jim. We've got the proposed language in front of you.
All right.
And our office has reviewed it, and we think it accomplishes the intent of both the Road Commission and what this board would like to see.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Good evening.
Introduce yourself, please.
Jim Cook, Grand Traverse County Road Commission. We're here tonight to ask once again for support of a millage proposal. And we've worked with the county's attorney and our attorney to finalize the language that our board approved last week at a board meeting. And so I guess tonight we are asking that the board approve the millage language to be added to the November ballot.
Larry.
Just a quick question on the language. I noticed that you inserted the word highways, and I just wanted to get a clarification on that in the resolution. And that is, you know, allocating money to, for example, like M72 and US 31 and those kinds of, is that your intent? Because one can define highways as like state highways, and then we have local roads, and then we have local bridges. and then we have county roads. So I thought the millage would be directed towards county roads, local bridges, whatever, and that the state of Michigan is still responsible for US 31 and M72.
Yeah, that is the intent.
So
The
I would-
intent is local streets, roads, highways, bridges, repair and improvement.
Yeah, I just make a suggestion, you might want to delete the word highway, because people would view that as, you're going to repair state highways.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be just how I read it, but.
Yeah, I thought that language came from our attorney, actually, and the reason is it includes two-lane highways, county roads that are two-lane highways. So that's not, working with the county administrator, he suggested that we add local.
Right.
Partly because of that, and partly because there still could be something on the ballot regarding state funding.
So is there a way we can better clarify highways? I mean, I'm just making a suggestion.
The term says local streets, roads, highways, and bridges. Local streets, roads, highway, bridges. That would mean they're all local projects.
We have a time constraint here, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, this has to be passed by August 27th.
Yeah.
I believe. But,
If you want to leave it the same, as a part of your educational piece, you need to really go out there and indicate that these funds aren't going to go to state highways.
Yeah, and one change that you'll notice is originally we were talking about our winter maintenance millage.
Right.
And again, we did receive enough feedback from residents in Grand Traverse County that said, hey, you're doing a great job on winter maintenance. We're not worried about that. You need to fix our roads. And there was some concern that, well, geez, maybe this is some kind of bait and switch, and you're just going to use it on roads anyway. So our board did decide to change that language to, maintenance and improvements of our local roads. So that's kind of a major change to the language. And you're exactly right that we need to do a really good job of educating the public. We need to do a much better job than we did in the past as far as working with our partners, the county, the townships, the villages, and the city. And because everybody benefits from this. And so we're really hoping that it'll pass.
Chris,
I'm ready to make a motion, if you're ready to receive one.
whatever, sure.
I would move to request that the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners submit to the electors of Grand Traverse County at the November 5th, 2013 election a streets, roads, highways, and bridges millage proposal as presented. You don't want me to read the whole thing, do you, Bob?
No.
We have a motion and support by Wheelock. Now, is there any other discussion?
Yes, I do have a comment.
Okay, Chris?
Well, I would like to address a couple of things that former Commissioner Gilman mentioned, and that is that he mentioned that, not every property owner uses our roads. I would disagree with that statement. Every time, I don't care if you walk to the grocery store, I don't care if you bicycle to the grocery store, every time you go to the grocery store and take a loaf of bread off of the shelf, you are using our roads. That loaf of bread got there somehow. And I don't believe, as strongly as I really do believe that Mr. Gilman was exactly right, that our state representatives should do something about our roads. I'm not delusional, and I don't believe they're going to. I believe if we are going to fix roads in Grand Traverse County, we're going to have to do it ourselves. I voted to put the last request for millage for the road commission on the ballot because I believed that voters should have a choice in how their roads are fixed, repaired, whatever. I did not support that millage for a number of reasons, but I've seen what this road commission and this board, your board, has done with the very, very few dollars that you have had to work with. And I do support this. I believe that this road commission and under our new manager, I believe they deserve a chance to show Grand Traverse County residents what they can do. And I really believe you guys stepped up over the last winter. I don't know how you did it with the equipment that I've seen that you have had to use. I also appreciate the fact that you're willing to put it on a November ballot with other millages, and I don't believe that people ought to stick them on separate ballots. Of course, I was quoted in the paper saying that this morning. But I do believe voters should give you a chance. And it's not you know, a 10-year millage, it's not a 12-year millage, it's 3 years. And it sunsets. I like that about it. If the voters pass this and they don't like the work that you've done, they're not going to pass it again. So I really, I support this.
Commissioner Lathrop?
Yes, first of all, thank you. I'm glad you changed it from a winter millage to this. I had several of my voters that felt that not saying it was a winter millage, doing it the way you did it is better. And I have one constituent who's very bright, and I always appreciate his input. And he says that he'd like to have the distribution of these funds clearly made to the public. For instance, the county's not going to get all of this. The city of Traverse City is going to get some, and some downtown development associations, and so the commission plans to make that clear when they bring this out to the public. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct. We, as part of our education, what we're proposing is we would actually list off all of the recipients of the millage in
the last paragraph.
But we'll actually itemize out, you know, how much money each entity receives as part of that millage, really to show, you know, there's a benefit to not just the road commission, but to the city. You know, the city has a need for funds to repair their streets, the villages, and the DDAs. And one thing I wasn't clear on, Mr. Cooney, was there have been questions about, is there a restriction on how those entities spend that millage money? Is it restricted to road improvements, or?
Well, it is by the language of the
Okay, that's how I read it.
proposal.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I understand this. The money that Traverse City gets from this, we expect them to spend that on roads, and we.
Oh, yeah.
So they will spend it on roads.
Oh, they will.
They
You bet.
have to, according to the ballot language.
Oh, I'm relieved about that.
But just to clarify, they can reduce their other budget and just put this money in it. And I would hope they wouldn't.
I don't think
would hope that they would put this as additional money to their roads, because that's the critical piece about what this is going to do, because we're way behind. And if they reduce their budgets by the amount of money they get from this millage, if it passes, then shame on them.
And chances are they won't get it again.
And that's right. Anybody else? Charlie?
One quick question. When you came up with a winter millage idea, you went for a 2-year, and I see this is a 3-year now. What changed your mind on that?
Yeah, actually, the county administrator advised or maybe recommended that we should maybe consider a 3-year, and the reason for the 3 years, it would put us in line with the general election, and so we wouldn't have to pay for special elections moving forward. And the other thing is it does give us an extra year really to show what we can do for the residents of Grand Traverse County. It gives us an extra year to really prove what we want to do.
Okay. One other quick question. It says here it would raise $4,396,000 plus. Is that annually, or is that over the period of?
That is annually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you will give us a breakdown of how this will be split up then?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Wheelock?
A couple things. One, I am very happy to see it just be road maintenance, not tied to winter, because I know a lot, you know, and you and I have had the conversation, Mark and I have had the conversation, you know, what happens when you have a winter like last year when you don't spend the money, you know, then while we're going to tie it into road projects, well, you know, people don't like that. They want to know what the money's going to be spent for, if they're going to vote for it. maintenance period is a better explanation. The only question that I have, I guess, is that we have a commitment that these are improvements to the travel portion of the roadways. You know, I know we get, the last time, you know, at 2007 was it, we did the bond issue before, and one of the things we took a lot of abuse about, you know, as far as I was concerned from groups after the fact, was that we didn't do more bike paths and those kind of things, you know. I think the number one safety concern in our community right now is the quality of our roads. You know, all of us that drive up and down those roads right now, we genuinely have safety concerns on the roadways that we're driving on. And I think we need to have a strong commitment that we are going to fix the travel portions of the roadways, not developing bike paths that, you know, separated and those kind of issues. You know, I don't have a problem necessarily with paved shoulders because they do two things. One, they provide a place for pedestrians and bicycles, but they also reduce the maintenance on the edges of the road and the pressure on the edges of the road. But, you know, I know like I say, we took quite a bit of flack the last go-round about why didn't we build more bike paths with some of that money. And, you know, we need to improve the travel portions of our roadways.
Any other comments? My comment is that I have worked on transportation issues for most of the term as I've been as county commissioner, not only locally but also state-wise and federal-wise. And I see no hope from the federal government to take care of our local roads. And talking with Mr. Schmidt this morning, he said he doesn't see any hope that the state is going to get its act together to be able to provide any kind of funding locally for roads. We have to take care of ourselves. We can't expect somebody else to take care of our roads. And I think it's really important that we do it. Mr. Wheelock and I somewhat disagree. I'm a trail component. And if we can all work together, I think it's important that we work collaborative in any issue that we do. And if they can help raise funds to be able to do this and be able to collaborate, that's where we ought to work. And I would hope that we have to be cautious as to how we do our marketing on this. You know, the Road Commission cannot come out and say they support a millage. They can only give information. My concern is I would hope that there's enough people in our community that would like to band together to say, I'm going to work on a committee to get this millage out and get it passed. Come forward, let us know, let the Road Commission know that you are willing to work on this millage and make it pass, not only verbally, but possibly fiscally also, to be able to make sure that we get the right message out to our community, because this is an important piece. If this doesn't pass, we are going to have our roads continue to deteriorate at a rapid rate of pace, and we will not be happy about living in our community. So I'm really in favor of this, and I'm looking forward to hopefully that we can make this a real positive thing for our community. With that said, we'll have a vote. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Rennie?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas? Limcool?
Yes. Motion
All right.
passes.
Thank you,
Next.
Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Mark?
much, and good luck, guys. Next is the finance amendment to child care budget.
We are experiencing increased expenditures in our state grant, state child care fund budget, and this is the state fiscal year. And what I'm asking for here is an amendment of $100,000 to that state grant. And if we don't do this, the county is 100% responsible for anything over the state budget. That's why my paragraph and last paragraph is written the way it is. We can cover our 50% share of the increase because this is a 50% reimbursement grant within the current county appropriation. So this does not change the county budget, but it does make sense to do this, and I'm asking for your approval. Dave did sign the item, the actual budget summary, which is on page 83, but he wanted it to come back to the board so that you're aware of what we're doing here.
Mr. Wheelock.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the proposed amendment to the county child care budget as outlined by the finance director.
Second.
Support by Mr. Lathrop. I would just like to say that over the years, we've been very fiscally responsible for our child care fund, and it's been, I think we probably under budgeted anyway.
That's what I was going to bring up.
And so, this really isn't that bad a news. It's one of those things you have to deal with. And so I appreciate Dean and what you've done and be able to make sure we are there.
And just one last comment. We have not actually submitted this or made the request for the amendment. We were waiting for your concurrence with this tonight.
Okay. Mr. Wheelock.
Well, I guess I have two comments. One, I've sat here long enough to see this child care fund go all over everywhere. I've seen us in December scrambling to find $100,000 to balance this thing or more. And I've seen years where we had money left over. I'm a little bit concerned that we're identifying that we have a shortage and we're only halfway through our year, even though we're, 2/3 of the way through the stage here. So, but, I have great confidence in our finance director and our probate court system that they will make sure that the right things are being done with these children. If we do not properly protect the children that go through our probate system, we're going to have them in Mr. Hall's facility next door here very soon. We used to joke that the names in the jail were the same, the birth dates just change. And the one thing that we absolutely can identify is that with programs that have been put in place in this county by our probate judges and by this county board have made a difference and have stopped a lot of that from happening. We really cannot comment enough about what a wonderful job those people are doing.
Somebody else have a comment, Larry?
Well, I just want to make everyone aware that, I guess my 20 years on the county commission, we have rarely fell below the $1 million county appropriation. And sometimes, there's only a few years where we dropped below that $1 million, and there were a number of years that went up to $1.2 million, $1.3 million. So that's the big question mark I always have at every budget cycle is when we start budgeting something under $1 million, we know we're probably going to end up doing a budget adjustment. So this is not big news, but even at $1 million, we're probably still tracking as to where we think we're going to be for previous years.
Okay. Anybody else? Do I have to have a roll call on this?
It's money.
It's money. Roll call.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Inman,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas, Rennie,
Yes.
Lemko.
Yes. Next on the agenda is the July claims summary, I think is on your desk.
Yes, I'm asking for approval of the July claims that total $7,108,767.17.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Inman,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas, Rennie,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Lemko.
Yes. Next is the unfinished business, boarding of inmates, referred from Ways and Means. Sheriff?
And how many distinguished guests do we have this morning?
Several.
Wait,
Part of our
you're
presentation.
asking for the punchline. And it's too soon.
How many guesses?
I'm guessing I can already get a good idea.
That's the punchline. We leave that
Good
to-
evening. I'm Todd Bensley, Grand Traverse County Sheriff. And with me is Captain Bob Hall, the jail administrator. The TV's on?
They're coming.
Last week, you asked us to return with some solutions to the crowded jail situation. First, we would like to address the how we're getting these numbers. All we have to estimate with is what we've had in the past. We don't have a crystal ball, we can't predict the future. And you can see here, this is the
chart or graph that we presented last week. And it shows that in the red, the past 4 years average daily population by month to month. The first 6 months of this year, we were averaging plus 16 over the last 4 years average. Today, we got the July 2013. It's not up there, but we got the July 2013 average daily population. We estimated that it would be 161 inmates. In fact, the average population for July this year was 169. So we were a little low. Now, if you could tell us what the citizens in the county and others are going to be doing for the next 5 months, we know exactly what the jail population is going to be. The only thing we can say for sure is that we think that the population is going to be higher than it has in the past, and I think this chart is a pretty good example of that. It's hard to estimate the population. Friday, there were 174 inmates in the jail. Today, there's 152. That's a pretty big swing. Now, you'll also see the red line, 162. That is the actual number of beds we have to use. We explained that we have one section of the jail that has 6 two-person cells, but rarely, if ever, have we been able to put 2 people in each of those cells, which means a reduction of 6 usable beds in the jail. So we drew that line there just to show you that's the reality. Although it's rated for 168, that's what we can use. We sat down Monday with Dean Bott, the County Finance Director, and Captain Hall. Dean Bott looked at the current jail or corrections budget and identified areas where we could, within the current budget, get some money to board out prisoners through the remainder of the year, if, and again, if it's needed. As you can see, the population's up, the population's down, so it's hard to predict. Yep. If you look on this one, please.
Yeah,
The one,
I
yeah,
have it in here somewhere. It's there somewhere.
Oh, I know it is.
No, maybe it's not.
You asked for some, there's some ancillary costs in boarding prisoners out, medical costs and transportation. What we did is we looked at the March and April housing costs and medical costs that we had when we boarded prisoners out in Leelanau and Charlevoix County, and that total was about 2.6%. The medical cost, about 2.6% of the housing costs. We came in last week with a couple of projections, or just using them, I can't say projection, what it would cost if we boarded out for the months of August through December 10 prisoners, and we boarded out 15 prisoners. The cost to board out 15, if we had to board them out every single day, tomorrow through the end of the year, and I don't think our population is going to jump right back up tomorrow, so every day we're around that 162, 164 number, we're not spending any money. But as I think Commissioner Wheelock said, you might need to board out 18 one day and 9 the next, and now you have something closer to an average of 15. We're going to use the money very judiciously, and at 15 inmates per day, the number is the same as it was last week. That's $67,500. If you add in the medical costs, and What are they gonna be? Well, all we have is what we've done in the past. That's about $1,700, almost $1,800. So it's about $70,000. Exactly, it's $69,282. We've been able to locate $70,000 within the current jail budget. Some of that is savings in overtime costs because of the facility we're not using. We can come back and update you if you would like, next month, the month after, whenever, of what the population is, what it's been doing, or we can just send you some information. I think Sergeant Ritter emailed everybody this chart. I don't know if you got it or not, but he was going to email you this chart. And he also emailed you, I believe it was the diagram of the jail. So if there's any questions on the individual line items, which you see on the screen, where the money will come from, we're happy to answer those questions, along with Dean. Would you like to add anything?
No, you've done well.
Mr. Wheelock?
Neither one of you have ever done this before, right?
I'm sorry?
I said neither one of you have ever done this before, right?
A few times.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to authorize the Sheriff's Department for up to $70,000 for boarding out prisoners.
Support.
We have a motion support. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Inman?
Two questions. One is, does the decreased expenditure just solely within the Sheriff's Department, or is it in other departments within the county?
It's solely within the Sheriff's Office and solely within the Corrections Division.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. And second question, if you could just give us a quick update on the New World software and reporting.
Happy to do that.
Documents, where we're at with that thing.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
We have somebody at the pointy end of the spear.
Good.
Sergeant Ritter from the jail is going to be contacting the judges. We met Monday. Our discussion about this topic got into the New World programs, data that people, various departments in the county, want to get from that system. And prior to that, everybody was just kind of pointing fingers and, well, it's IT's problem. Well, you call New World and you tell them. So we decided somebody had to be in charge, and that's Sergeant Ritter. He'll be contacting Mr. Benda when he gets back to find out what he wants. He'll be contacting the circuit court judges, the district court judges. What do they want to see?
Good.
Okay? And IT is currently working to try and get that, they may be able to get that information immediately out of the system. There are other problems within that system for the jail. But we have somebody at the pointy end of the spear, and he's been charged with finding out what people want and how to get it. I simply ask, and I told him, I said, if you run over somebody and getting this done, please call me, give me a heads up for the phone call that I'll probably be getting. So, we want it to get done, and we should have some fairly concrete answers sooner than later.
Good, thank you.
But it is technology, and sometimes technology is a problem.
I can't sit here without saying something, but I did press the sheriff on this matter when we met Monday, and then Captain Hall, myself, Sergeant Ritter, Don Sheehan, and Laverne and IT met on Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, to discuss this and to basically, we know we have to work with the data that we have, but it is software. We'll probably have to call New World in or talk to them and find out why things are not working the way they should, and I've kind of volunteered to help with this because it's something we need to do. I mean, being able to get the data out of that system, that software, is critical to Captain Hall and to the sheriff, but also to the judges, and I think we got that message loud and clear last week at Ways and Means. So Sergeant Ritter, he's got a big task ahead of him, but he's got some good help behind him.
Sergeant Ritter, right after our meeting, Sergeant Ritter did meet with the circuit judges, got what they wanted on that report, got back with Don Sheehan from the IT, and between the two of them, they believe they can create the report that the judges want. So on a regular basis, they have a handle on what's happening with the inmate population. They've, if not, they've already contacted New World and put them on standby. New World's going to have to work with us to help us develop the reports that they said we're supposed to be able to get. So, hopefully.
Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, a couple things. First, the most important jail bed we have is an empty one. You know, whether we got 162 or 168 or 196 when we had the other facility open. The most important is an empty one. There has to be a bed available. If the sheriff needs to arrest someone, the judge needs to sentence one, and so on. So that vacant bed absolutely is critical that it be there. Otherwise, it screws up the safety of our community. It screws up all of the efforts we do with community corrections and all of those kind of things. We have to have those beds available, and that's why, you know, I'll support the boarding out. You know, I think it is absolutely essential that we hold New World's feet to the fire, because they absolutely told us when we spent a lot of money on this program, and they absolutely guaranteed us that it would provide us with this information, and we're 2 years into that now, and we cannot extract the information that they promised us. So we need to hold New World's feet to the fire and say, look, you promised us we would have this information. I'm not a software geek. You know, there's no possible way that I can go in and tell you how to get that out of that information. But we absolutely paid them an awful lot of money based on the premise that they could provide us with this data information. And the information is absolutely essential for us to properly manage our jail population. So we absolutely need to hold New World's feet to the fire. You know, and Todd's going to do everything he can. The jail or the judges and all of our departments are going to do what they can. But the fact is, this is a New World problem.
That's
and
correct.
We need to hold New World responsible.
Commissioner Lathrop.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with what Commissioner Inman said last time. We're probably looking at a new jail down the road, and to know if we need one, we're going to need that information.
Right.
So, you know, we need it now, and we need it to look into our crystal ball as well. So, I really hope we get that stuff.
We're prepared to do that. We have the support of the finance director and Mr. Benda. We're prepared to do that. We're going to hold him accountable. So.
Good.
We may need Mr. Cooney's help at some point, but.
Different subject a little bit. What does it cost you figure, to house an inmate daily in your jail?
I'm sorry?
What's the daily average cost you feel to house an inmate over here?
We calculated that out back in 2005. We haven't done it since then.
What was it then?
It was about $62 a day.
Okay. And you can board people out for $30.
That's true.
Okay. That's all.
Commissioner McGuire.
If necessary, I would be comfortable with Mr. Cooney taking a look at our agreement with New World, because if we're not getting reports that we were told that we're going to get, I want my money back.
I'll have Chris Forsythe sharpen his spear.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Rennie.
One other question. We have some folks over there that have mental health issues. Is there anything we can do there to alleviate some of your space problems with some alternative programs, specialty courts, things like that, that you feel might help?
We already have participation in the mental health court, in district court. Everyone is screened when they come in by our staff and also by mental health people. If they're appropriate candidates for the mental health court, they are moved into the mental health court. If they're real serious where they need in-house treatment in a mental health facility, CMH works with us to make that happen. But we're kind of hostage to their available beds also. We have one inmate in our jail now that's been deemed appropriate, and we have a court order to move that person to a mental health facility when a bed becomes available, and that's been 2-3 weeks that we've been sitting, waiting for a bed to open up. Everybody else, there's probably about 40% of our population in the jail that has mental issues of some sort, some degree. There are no other alternatives other than to deal with them in-house.
How do you think it's working?
Not very well.
What can we do to improve it? Because I get the same impression from community mental health. I sit on that board.
That's
I think we could do more.
That's a subject for another conversation that's going to be quite
But it is
lengthy.
beds.
We've had
It's beds.
multiple discussions of whether or not we're getting the necessary community mental health help in our jail. And I believe everyone will acknowledge that we are not getting an adequate amount of mental health services in our jail, but nobody has the budget to pay for more. You know, our agreement, you know, I believe our philosophy is the agreement we have with Great Lakes Community Mental Health requires that they provide those services. And we can give you all kinds of documentation about how many hours worth of service we got 10 years ago compared to how many hours we're getting right now. And we're getting a fraction of the service that we were getting 10 years ago, even though our population's higher and our percentage of mental health patients that are in our jail is higher. We are getting significantly less service than we got 10 years ago.
So who is the liaison to explain that to
Well,
everybody involved?
we're more than, I've made the suggestion a number of times that we could reduce the $860,000 a year annual appropriation to community mental health until they could provide the service, but we're contractually required to make that payment.
So you just give up on it, or what do you think
No,
we should be doing?
we keep asking, keep pushing.
So you're the liaison.
I
So, yeah,
can't,
who's the-
I can't count
You
enough
want me to
meetings
handle
of how
it?
many
That's my
meetings that
point.
I've had
I don't
with
know
mental
who's
health
supposed to
over
do it.
this
Is that
issue.
the chairman? Who does it?
So I think this is one of those issues that we should be looking at in our budget time, because we are giving them quite a bit of money, and I'm not sure we can reduce that amount of money. If we could, I think we ought to look at it and start contracting for services.
I think in 13 they said it was 675,000.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of money.
So, anybody else? Larry?
Just a quick observation that, you know, given that we're seeing less and less people going to work release and in that lower level security framework within the jail, and the population is going up, leads me to believe, and that's what's so important about the data, is that it will demonstrate yes or no, or we're on a beginning trend that there are more serious offenses in our community, and the lesser offenses are not as prevalent, and people are being sentenced longer in our community, and there's more of them. So that's the importance of that data. It'll give us a trend and hopefully give us an opportunity to make those kind of decisions. The second part is I just want to clarify a comment at the last meeting regarding the state of Michigan funding individuals that have a third drunk driving offense. I chair the State Corrections Board in Lansing, State Community Corrections Board, since the Egler administration, and to clarify that remark is that the state was paying for every single third offense drunk driving, but not every third offense drunk driving scores out in the sentencing guidelines as a possibility of going to prison. So the state said if they're not going to prison, that's the purpose behind the program, is a prison diversion program that we pay for local programs and services that the judges have available to them to keep those folks locally rather than sending them to the state prison system. So what they did is they said with a third drunk driving offense, if they score out in this rattle cell, which means the judge has the decision to take them to jail or prison or to jail, or if they score out in a higher end and they keep those people, they reimburse us. So that's what's supposed to be going on with the drunk driving initiative money. And if it's not going on, then I need to know that.
No, you're absolutely correct. Back when, every third offense drunk driving carried a minimum of 1 year to whatever the max was. Everyone was considered, if they were convicted and sentenced, everyone qualified for diverted felon. It was the diverted felon dollars that we were capturing. Right. If the judge opted to not send them to prison but give them a year in the county jail, we were able to get reimbursed for every day that individual spent in the county jail. Then the program changed where dollars were available for diverted felons, but they shifted to programs, treatment programs. So if they did their first 10 days in the county jail could capture the 10 days, but then the diverted program for the treatment captured the rest of that money.
Right.
At one particular time, our diverted felon revenue line item exceeded $180,000 a year we were getting. Now it's zero. we're not getting any. The criteria to score them out to where they would qualify in Grand Traverse County, and we work with Chuck Welch from the
Okay.
probation department and parole, to look at every single individual sentenced out of circuit court that gets county jail time to see if they qualify for diverted felon funds. And for the last year and a half to 2 years, we've had zero.
Is that because their guidelines aren't scoring out high enough?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So they're not eligible for prison? Yeah, okay.
Hence, an unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we can even get into the discussion about who created the scoring program, but it wasn't anybody in this room. I can tell you that. You know, I
give you
think
5 on that. And we need to address that at the state level. We
The
really
key
do.
piece that we need to remember here is that we have done such a good job with our alternative sentencing, with our alternative programs, with the drug court, with the mental health court, with the veterans court, that the people that go before our judges for sentencing, if they're convicted, they belong in jail, period. And that's our problem. A number of years ago, we used to talk about 80% of the people in the jail were there because they were drunk, and the other 20% were there for crimes they committed while they were drunk. That's not the person that's in our jail today.
Well, I saw the news on the latest person from Long Lake Township.
I don't see the news.
Oh, well,
Whatever.
I won't go there then.
But I guess the point is that
But
the
it was
people that
unusual.
are in our county jail absolutely need to be in our county jail for the safety of our community, and we have to make sure we have beds available for them.
We have a motion on the floor. Can we go for a vote?
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried.
All right.
Thank you very much. Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So also, now we're on to the tablet policy for boards and committees.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Any
Sorry,
discussion?
Who approved that?
Inman, supported by Max Bauer. I noticed that we took out that they would be responsible for any damage. Is there a reason for that?
How would you enforce it?
Well, if somebody brings back a damaged one because they dropped it, then they ought to be held responsible for it.
What if it's lost?
That's my only concern, is that we should be responsible enough that if we take that, we should be held responsible enough to be able to take care of it.
I think there was a question, at least in my mind, when we talked about lost and damaged, if it was intentional or whether it was accidental, or if it was, and then somebody had put in stolen, any way around it. I think all of us are responsible enough to do the best we can to take care of the equipment, but at the same time, if something's damaged, outside of my control, I'm not sure that I should be responsible to pay for that.
No, I guess I agree with Commissioner Wheelock on that. I don't know if we can clarify the item at hand, but just so that the board understands, there are going to be circumstantial things that we need to consider.
Okay.
You could say gross negligence or criminal acts.
There you go.
That's
close enough.
If it's negligent or criminal, that's your job, is to charge them for it.
That would be one extreme, but, when you look at under that section 2 on page 86, it says normal care.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's an issue or an instance where someone has not used normal care, I think we would probably make a request from that person to reimburse or make the county whole, so.
Absolutely.
And, I pardon me?
Go ahead.
I would like to think that we appoint board members that are responsible people and will do their best to take care of county equipment.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That was just a question. So, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have new business. The first one is August 7th, Public Health and Safety Meeting.
I'm going to be gone. Dr. Lathrop, the vice chairman, will also be gone. And I am not aware at this time of any pressing issues.
Okay.
And I see no reason why we cannot postpone or just skip the meeting.
Works for me.
Skip it.
Save the county some money.
Yep. Okay, so there will be no public health and safety meeting on August 7th.
All right.
Next is Commissioner Lathrop with appointments.
Okay, the ad hoc committee about appointments happened today, myself and Commissioner Max Bauer and Commissioner Lemkool. And on the Commission on Aging, we recommend the appointment of Bill Rokas to the Commission on Aging for the remainder of the 3-year term ending December 31st. The Hospital Finance Authority, we recommend to waive the term limit for a position on the Hospital Finance Authority being filled by a representative from the Pavilion's Medical Care Facility and reappoint Corey Hansen to that position for the 5-year term, July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2018. For the Farmland Preservation Board, we recommend to appoint Trina Struman to the Farmland Preservation Board as a Conservation District representative for the 3-year term, July 1st, 2013 through July 30th, 2016, and reappoint Doug White as the Township representative for a 3-year term, July 1st, 2013 through July 30th, 2016.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
I'll support.
I have a support. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Also, then, the Construction Board of Appeals is an appointment by myself, the chairman, and I think you all have a list of that. The only thing that's missing on there is Mr. Thomas is not listed on there. He's our commissioner representative, and so I would appoint those people to that board, and this is a realignment of the Building Code of Board of Appeals. So I'm to be able to make those appointments, if that's all right with everybody.
So do you need consent, or?
Yeah.
I don't have to. Okay, that'd be fine if you did.
Move to approve the chairman's recommendation for the appointment.
Mr. Thomas did, so you want to support it?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next, I got notified that the Housing Commission is going to be meeting and on the 8th of August at 1 o'clock, and they're looking for a commissioner representative to be on that. Do I have any volunteers to sit on that board?
What date?
August 8th?
No, I won't be
At 1
here.
o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, I will volunteer in that I
Perfect.
sit on the County Land Bank Authority, which
Okay.
oversees the Housing Trust
Okay.
Fund.
So I'm going to appoint Commissioner Wheelock to that board, if that's all right.
Works
August
for
8th
me.
at what time?
1 o'clock on the 8th. They will send you where it's going to be at, so Chris will send that out for you. Okay? Thank you. Next is we have on your desk is a deed.
Okay.
Mr. Bott, you want to cover that?
Let me run with this or start it, and I may need Bob's help, but we were notified by a realtor that this particular parcel was actually in error transferred by our building authority to the county back in 2004, and we then, the county, transferred this particular parcel to Fife Lake Township, all in error. I worked with Chris Forsyth in Bob's office and the realtor to draft, I didn't draft this document, but I had worked with Jason Torrey in dispatch to make sure that we had no interest in this particular piece of property. We actually had a tower that we had some equipment on in the adjacent section in Fife Lake Township, but if you go all the way back to the building authority transferring this piece of real estate to the county, that was because we had issued bonds to make some radio equipment upgrades and some upgrades to our tower. I don't know why this particular parcel was listed and was actually transferred to Fife Lake Township. I worked with Bonnie, although I never got back with Bonnie on this. We just don't know why this ever happened in the first place, but if you look at the bolded item, about halfway down, it clearly states what we're doing here. It's to correct that error and to make it so that there's no, I don't know the legal term for this, but when you look back and the title companies are doing their work. They're seeing that the county had an interest, and then they transferred that interest to Fife Lake Township, and, you know, it's just, it's...
This is just correcting
This
the
is
error.
to remedy the interest that was transferred in error. It was approved or reviewed by Chris, and he was comfortable with the language, and we would need the chairman's signature if it's approved.
So the motion should be to
Ratify.
allow me to sign the deed.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to ratify the full Board of Commissioners and approve the quitclaim deed as presented, with the chairman's signature tonight.
Support by Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Does this go to an
Aye.
adjacent property owner?
No, I don't know who, we had actually, I mean, we have to do this so that the party that owns it now can actually, they're trying to sell
They're
it.
trying to sell it.
And
Yeah.
it's just to remedy the error that we made back in 2004.
So basically, it's a side lot thing where it's a piece adjacent that was transferred back through.
We never owned it, but we somehow got a deed on it. So I have a motion by Inman and support by Thomas. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next on the agenda is second public comment. Seeing none, commissioner reports. Mr. Rennie.
Went to the Michigan Northern Counties monthly meeting. We did a tour of the American Waste Recycling Plant on Hughes Drive. Unbelievable deal going on over there. Really quite a thing. And they recycle almost 40% of this stuff that comes through there now. It's quite an operation to see. Everyone should go down and check it out, actually.
Not at the same time.
No.
40% of what comes in the garbage trucks,
Yes.
about 98% of what comes in as far as recyclables.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
as far as that goes. But they actually do the separation over there with the trucks.
It's amazing.
Oh, anything else?
Also, Camp Pugsley, went to their quarterly meeting. Everything is normal over there. They still run about 1,330 average daily inmate count there. And I also went to the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Board meeting, and we're trying to discuss how to get along better with our other local units of government. So I'm going to try to work on that. I don't,
On the Camp Pugsley, they're talking about building the little houses for libraries to go in front of people's front lawns, and that their inmates will actually build them, and then we can put them into different organizations, and then they can paint them or do whatever, and then people can put those in their front lawns and then put them in books. Long Lake Grocery's got one, I noticed, and I think there's one on Front Street that I saw near the hamburger place. And so they're starting to become popular throughout the area. And he said, how many do you need? We'll be able to build them. So they built all kinds of them for prototypes. So it's going to be cool to see what we can do with
they
that.
also showed us some furniture and some fixtures that they've been building out there, and they do a great job
Oh,
on
yeah.
their stuff. They
Yeah.
do. no
It's a
doubt.
great way for them to get a...
And it gives them some background.
Yep.
Exactly.
Commissioner Lathrop.
We had a Beta board meeting today and did something different. We took the Beta bus all the way to Leland and had the meeting there, because great bus. And I had another chance to go to the Cass Street bus station and see how beautifully run that organization is. It's just inspiring, and people have a positive attitude there. I'm really glad to be on that board.
Anybody else?
No, my AAA, Area Agency on Aging meeting is tomorrow at 9:30.
This morning for the Brownfield, we were notified that the DEQ has come through with another grant for the
Hotel Indigo.
Hotel Indigo. They turned it around in 30 days, which is unheard of, that they were able to do that to be able to help to be able to get rid of the cyanide because
That's
there's more
wonderful.
higher levels. So Gene is going to draft a letter thanking them for the expedient turnaround on getting that money coming back to us. So I just want to recognize them for what they have done, and we really appreciate what they've done. And that's come along really well, along with the TBA Credit Union, and then also the new development on State and Pine Street. So we've approved all those, so those are coming on. Anything else? Any notices?
I will be gone. I leave next Tuesday afternoon for California. That's the 6th. After the Commission on Aging meeting, I will be at the Commission on Aging meeting. I return on the 12th.
Okay.
And I feel compelled, after reading about the most recent drowning in Long Lake, I feel compelled to contradict something that I read in the paper, or in the article. It said, and I'm not sure if it was quoted accurately or not, but it said that the Red Cross representative said the number one thing you can do when you're swimming in open water is swim with a buddy. No, no, no. The number one thing to protect yourself is don't go. That's number one. Number two is to have a personal flotation device. In 3 of those instances, there was a swim buddy within 5 feet of the drowning victim. You need to have a flotation. First of all, don't go unless it's an organized event where you've got lifeguards in boats like you do in triathlons. Don't go. Or have a personal flotation device, and that does not mean an empty milk jug tied to your leg. I'm really serious about that. People don't take it seriously enough, so I just wanted to get that off my chest. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a closed session or no closed session? Word for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Okay. I'm going to notarize it.
Okay. You got a copy of it here?
You got it right there.
You want me to do this one right here? Perfect.
I don't know how many copies I need. So let's do a couple.